I think we're live.
Yay. Okay. Welcome to another episode of HauseTalk. I'm Yeeling, the co-founder of House. As someone who spent over a decade in design education and agency work, I've seen how AI is transforming creative work, both the opportunities and the challenges it presents. Today, we're diving into Agentic AI, a topic that's particularly relevant for a lot of us who are seeing our tools and workflow evolve quite rapidly. We will be exploring what it means, why it matters, and how it's shaping the future of creative work. Joining me today is my co-founder, Anders, who brings deep technical expertise in AI development and implementation. We will be breaking down this complex topic and make it relevant for creatives like you and I who are looking to stay ahead of the curve. So let's get started.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Anders, and I'm excited to talk about this topic. I think it's super relevant now because agentic AI is becoming actually usable now. So I remember just last year, it was this stream where it's like, oh my God, we can have multiple AI models working together and actually start working on tasks for us. And it was basically these open source sort of hacked libraries on GitHub that you could use and basically try out, but it was really just a sort of a trial. It wasn't really anything that usable, but now there's so many tools available that actually make real AI agents something we can actually take and use in our day-to-day work. So Jensen Huang gave a speech at the CES recently, and he talked about agentic AI. So I just want to play a clip from that talk he gave, just to provide some context of where the industry is right now in terms of agent-based AIs.
One of the most important things that's happening in the world of enterprise is agentic AI. Agentic AI basically is a perfect example of test time scaling. It's a AI is a system of models. Some of it is understanding, interacting with the customer, interacting with the user. Some of it is maybe retrieving information from storage, a semantic AI system like a RAG. Maybe it's going on to the internet. Maybe it's studying a PDF file. And so it might be using tools, it might be using a calculator, and it might be using a generative AI to generate charts and such. And it's taking the problem you gave it, breaking it down step by step, and it's iterating through all these different models. Well, in order to respond to a customer in the future, in order for AI to respond, it used to be ask a question, answer starts spewing out. In the future, you ask a question, a whole bunch of models are going to be working in the background. And so test time scaling, the amount of computation used for inferencing is going to go through the roof. It's going to go through the roof because we want better and better answers. In a lot of ways, the IT department of every company is going to be the HR department of AI agents in the future. Today, they manage and maintain a bunch of software from the IT industry. In the future, they'll maintain, nurture, onboard, and improve a whole bunch of digital agents and provision them to the companies to use. Okay, and so your IT department is going to become kind of like AI agent HR.
Let's start with the basics. So, Anders, how would you explain agentic AI to our audience?
I assume most of you are already familiar with, I guess, what we today would call traditional AI, even though it's still relatively new. Basically, what most people use today is like the generative AI that became very widespread in late 2022 with the emergence of ChatGPT. Generative AI, or like the sort of the apps we've normally used, you're used to giving one instruction and getting one output. So I would have a problem I'm working on, I'm maybe like coding an app, and I need AI to help me with coding like one component of that app, and I would just ask something like ChatGPT or Claude or whatever to build that component for me, and it would do it. It's still just a part of my project. I have to give very clear instructions, and I need to just expect one output back. The whole difference with AI agents is that you actually give the AI a responsibility. Like you give the AI an objective. I need to build this app, or I need someone to help with marketing in my company, or I need some help with like accounting, not necessarily in a specified time frame, but just generally continuously, I need someone to do accounting for me. Basically, you would provide that objective to an AI agent, and that agent would actually still utilize the same tools that we've been using. It would utilize the same AI models, but the difference is that it would orchestrate a whole bunch of AI models to work together on achieving these objectives. So if you tell an agent to do your accounting continuously, like, then it might involve different models that's really good at calculations and mathematics, and maybe even another model that could write a financial report for you, and so on. And of course, like the actual main agent that's responsible for continuously keeping track of the objectives and making sure that the outputs it gets from these different sub AIs is actually relevant to the overall objectives. It's essentially like you would hire an employee, you give that employee an objective and say, okay, these are your responsibilities. The same thing you would do with an agent, like an agentic AI. They would have objectives, and you could choose to hire it for like a smaller period of time to solve like a more defined problem, or you could have an agent just continuously become an asset to your company or your project, continuously provide you with value. So it's really very similar to an employee. The only difference in this case, at least for now, is that it's not physical, like it's a digital employee that could potentially connect to all the channels you already use. So that be Slack, even text message or email, or like all the sort of modes of communication. It could upload something directly to your Google Drive, or accounting could go directly into the accounting system, and so on.
Awesome. Thanks for the explanation. I think I'm also getting it better. But then I'm also wondering, as per what you've mentioned, it sounds a lot like workflow automation, tools like Zapier, tools like make.com, the sort of workflows. So
Yeah.
what actually makes an AI system agentic?
I think if you automate something with, say, Zapier, it's still a manual process. Like, you need to define, like, okay, I have this very specific problem, so I set up this very specific connection between tool A and tool B and tool C, and then this is the flow. So there's really no intelligence as such. Whereas an AI agent, it actually takes initiative, so it can perceive situations, it can decide on the best course of action, and actually execute tasks autonomously. So as Jensen Huang said, it's basically creating intelligence that can act. So imagine, for instance, telling an AI that it's raining outside. It doesn't only remind you to carry an umbrella, but it also reschedules your outdoor meetings or book indoor alternative instead. So it's very goal focused. It's like AI that collaborates with humans, functioning like an independent assistant. I think it's very different in that sense, because all you care about as a human is the objective, like it's the end result, or like the end state you want things to be in, but you don't really care about how you get there. You don't want to sit and program every specific scenario. So an AI agent could easily make the Zapier connections as well, but it's just not static. It would change, and then maybe if it figures out that, oh, this connection is not the most optimal, because then now there are new tools available, like, then it would just change it, because all that cares about is like your objective, not really everything in between. It just makes sure that all of that works smoothly.
So what I'm understanding is these sort of workflow automation, it's still mostly following a scenario that you set. And it's very much set in that scenario. And once an output requires a different scenario, that kind of gets messed up. And this is where the agentic AI can intelligently understand how to sort of pivot or shift its direction to still manage or handle that different scenarios that's required.
Yeah, essentially. And I think what's important to understand is that if you give a role to an AI agent, it can be very generic. It doesn't have to be a specific task. It could just be that you need a new position in your company. Let's just keep with the marketing example. Like, you need someone to continuously post on social media, and that agent would also learn from, if we say that agent is connected to your Slack, it can even read the comments on your social media to get feedback from whatever it posts. It would learn about all the interactions in the company from listening to different employees communicate with each other and talking about, like, oh, we should also start promoting this or whatever. It would probably even join the meetings as well as a sort of a virtual participant in the meeting. So it would keep learning about the company, keep getting more educated on its domain and responsibilities, so it would be better at that execution over time. In the beginning, obviously, you might not trust it completely, just like you wouldn't necessarily hire an intern and have that intern post on your social media right away without any verifications. Similarly to that, you would expect the AI to start like making content for you and just tell it like, okay, I want to review it every time before we publish it. And over time, maybe you'll become so confident in that agent that you just let it post on its own. But it's very similar to how you would instruct a human to manage a position.
Mm-hmm. Let's imagine this scenario where perhaps someone is still an existing employee in an organization. Do you personally think if I'm actually, as of today, still paid for this current role, is it ethical that I actually start using AI agents in my workflow?
Yeah, I mean, I personally don't see a problem with that. If we just look a bit into the future, it's going to be so common and widespread that essentially anyone who doesn't adopt this technology will become outcompeted by other companies. I think it will be very difficult for companies to survive if they don't incorporate AI in their business, at least in most businesses as of today. It's, of course, there should be transparency and there should be some politics in the companies about what tools to use and how to use it. But essentially, that employee would go from being someone who executes tasks to become a manager of different AI agents. So their roles would shift, but it also means that the output could become much bigger over time because it essentially is a copy-paste mechanism for new employees. So you can keep creating more agents and having bigger output, even like agents reviewing output from other agents and so on to also increase the quality over time. So yeah, I don't see a problem with that. Of course, in the short term, there is probably going to be issues with people like employees maybe getting fired because they become replaced by new AI agents. Of course, that's a concern in the short term. I think the longer term, AI in general is gonna provide so much abundance to the world because the cost of production basically decreases over time. I think in the long term, it's gonna be almost like universal abundant income because the cost of labor goes down and the production in the world increases exponentially. So in the next 2 to 5 years, I think we're going to see a lot of layoffs because of agents.
From what I'm understanding, previously, we still kind of look at AI as a tool, right? Journey, this ChatGPT, this Claude, we look at them as tools. As what you have mentioned, the AI agents are sort of replacing me at my work. And you mentioned over time, they still need to continuously learn about your roles, what you are working on to better understand. So I kind of see this shift from looking at AI as a tool to collaborating with this agents to get better. Is this how we could start looking at AI as working hand in hand, a collaborative thing, rather than you are a tool or a service that I use?
I think so. We're so used to, of course, AI rapidly improving our own sort of capacity and output, but ultimately AI was still constrained by someone having to type in a prompt and wait for an output for that. I think with AI agents, everything is going to become a lot more autonomous. So you don't need to babysit it as much. You don't need to do 100 different prompts to create one project. You go from all the sub prompts to one main, like, this is the problem I'm trying to solve. And then you give it a budget. You can say, okay, I have this problem. I want to give you a fixed budget of, say, $10 to solve this problem. And then that sort of freelance agent would start working on that problem and stay within that budget range. Or you could say, I have these general tasks that I need done like week to week, like continuously. I need to make sure that our website is always up to date, and I want to make sure that it's keep using the newest technologies and so on. Please stay within that budget, and you can go up to that budget to make also improvements on your own if you figure out something that could make sure that our website stays stays up with time and sort of you can even tweak maybe some UI elements if there's new like UX research that shows that this kind of menu is better or whatever. But if you do bigger changes, please put it on a staging side and then I'll review it before we publish it. But but just stay within that budget every month, and you're basically hired like on a continuous basis to do this task. So there are multiple ways you can approach this, and in any case, it's very similar to how you would imagine like hiring actual like employees, like humans, into your company, whether it's like a part-time basis, a full-time basis, or even just like project-based hiring.
Can you actually get the agents to prepare them with tasks for the future? Can they remember like, oh, when this happens, I gotta do this, but it's not even real time right now? Can they understand time, the notion of time? Like, oh, I gotta do this on Monday. And is this something we can already work with?
Yeah, you would be able to give it deadlines, but also I think it's important to understand that you don't necessarily need to give it any tasks. You need to give it a problem, and the agent would start actually making tasks on its own. It's not given that the agent itself would do all the tasks. Maybe one task is to edit a new cover video for the hero section on the website, and maybe that agent itself is not an expert in that, but it has connections to other AIs that could essentially like edit a video. So it would make like, it would define that specific problem and that specific task on its own, and then connect to another AI that's very highly focused on editing video, and then provide that task description and whatever source files that's needed to create the video, and just wait for that agent to get back. At the end of the day, a main agent you hired that's responsible for then collecting all the outputs from the different AIs, and ultimately either launch it directly to the website or add it to a staging site and say, hey, I created this new version of the website with this new cover video. Can you please review it? And if everything is okay, I'll go ahead and publish it to the live site. So I think the more context you would give that agent, the better. And if it's like if we say it's like the website agent example from before, and it's continuously hired to keep the website up to date, you could imagine that every time you have like a meeting that could be relevant to that AI, you would just invite that agent to the Google Meet or whatever you use, just like you would invite the employees, and it would just listen in. And if anything comes up that's relevant to its particular domain, it would take note and then start working on that afterwards. So I think the more channels you would then connect the agent, the more context you could continuously provide it without actually feeling you need to instruct it or give it tasks, the better, because then autonomously it would just start defining new problems that it could work on based on its assigned domain.
All of this sounds really exciting, but I can also imagine it also brings up a lot of fears in people. If we can, quote unquote, automate this to such extent, then perhaps one day my role, my job can really completely be taken over. So moving forward with all of these AI agents coming into play, I can totally see how it really helps organizations, businesses, companies, like from a management, from an organization point of view, I could potentially cut out a lot of people. I can save a lot of costs, but from a employee or workers point of view, where do you think this is going, and what do we think like is the future of work? How can they not be replaced in the face of AI agents?
My perspective is that I really don't want to sugarcoat things. I think eventually we're probably all gonna be replaced to some degree. It doesn't mean there won't be purpose or that we won't have anything to do, but we will need to be okay with the fact that our role today might not be the same like a year from now. Actually, what I'm most concerned about is really the short term, like the next 2 to 5 years, where it actually sort of becomes very evident which direction things are headed and how much can actually be automated and basically done by AI in the very near future. Of course, in the short term, like everyone who can transition from like doing things like that, it even applies to me. I have a background in computer science, and essentially like what I see every day, like on the news articles and stuff, is who needs a programmer when you can have AI code for you. Of course, that doesn't mean that I would be irrelevant as a programmer right now. I can manage AIs and basically define problems at a higher level. And I think the more people are open to going to like high level, the better, because ultimately there'll always be a demand for figuring out like what kind of world is it that we as humans want to live in. We probably still want to be a part of making those decisions, even if that means that the AIs can implement it and make it for us. If we're getting really philosophical here, I don't think it's given that humans need to work to feel like they have a purpose in life. I don't even think it was like that in the sort of dawn of civilization, where it was more about like getting food every day and just like be with your family and so on. So I think it's also wrong to just assume that, oh, then what's the point? Because there'll always be a point. We'll always find something we love doing. And even if we get to that point where AI could technically do everything, like we still need someone to decide on the direction and decide on what is it that we actually want built into this world. So I think in the short term, like, just use AI as a tool, use it practically where you can, because it can really enhance your output a lot. And it's very difficult to compete with other companies if you don't use AI and other companies use AI. Eventually it's going to just become way, way smarter. And that is the direction it's going. And I personally think it's super exciting. And I would love for people to just like really think about like the perspectives in this, and not just automatically think, oh, AI is taking my job, that is bad, and that ruins everything, because I don't think that's the case. But what is your own perspective? If an agent could take over all the tasks you do on a daily basis, like how would you feel, and what do you think?
For me right now, I'm in this phase where I'm actually, we are creating these startups. A lot of times I'm thinking from a business owner, a founder kind of perspective. So for me, I look at AI as a lot of positives, a lot of potentials, because on a business level, it's going to help us with streamlining the cost, cutting down employees. We talked a lot about this as well, like being the next Fortune 500 companies with only maybe 2 employees and everyone else is an agent. So things no longer has to be going in the direction that it's super big and bloated. Like whatever we imagined back in the days can be reimagined on a smaller scale. And I know this mindset maybe makes a lot of people uncomfortable or even wonder, like, but life is about being big, bring big, and all of that, right? Why do we want to live small, micro, and making things very lean? At the end of the day, it's about simplifying things. It's about really thinking what is needed and what's not needed. I know I'm going a little off tangent here, but bringing this back into AI, you look at different content online, and there are robots who are cooking noodles, who are taking over very basic stuff. I saw a company that does like eyelashes for people with robotic hands, barista robots and all of that. It's interesting to think about how back in the days we thought these are things that couldn't be automated, and how a lot of this actually seemed very like what you said, general label. I can't remember if that was the term you used, but I thought that was quite.
I saw a podcast yesterday where like the Tesla Optimus robot was referred to as it's essentially a general purpose labor device.
Yeah. I don't look at it as devaluing these day-to-day stuff, but I see how life can be simplified. If today I'm a very successful entrepreneur, I would outsource a lot of things in my life because I want to focus my time on things that requires me to really think and strategize. I would do things like hiring a private chef to make my food. I would hire a personal trainer so I don't have to commute to the gym. I have a personalized workout schedule, and I can get to my fitness goals. So these are things a lot of times we work towards being wealthy, being able to afford luxury. I don't even call it luxury, but it's really optimizing life. If you look at the rich and the famous, they are all doing this, not just because, oh, it's luxurious living, but it's about optimizing life. You want to outsource things that can be outsourced and optimized so that you focus your time and energy on things that really matter. So for me, the way I look at it is AI is really giving us the opportunity to optimize life. Back to what you said about agentic AI and how they can streamline processes at even less than a fraction of the cost. So from a business point of view, it's a win for us because of cost saving, a lot of optimization. Of course, from an employee's point of view, I can completely understand why a lot of people are fearful, but I might be unpopular opinion. People who are afraid are simply people who don't want to try harder in life, who don't want to excel more, who don't want to basically put in the work. Basically, it is the idea that, oh, I have done so much already. I have already put in all the work. I have done my school and everything. I deserve to relax. I might be going into a bit more like philosophical track here. I don't know about your culture, but from where I'm coming from, Asian culture growing up, we were taught a lot like work hard now and enjoy and retire later. So I feel like a lot of us kind of subscribe to this idea. This mindset, what happens is it creates this idea that you should work very hard now and then somehow you can stop trying. If you constantly have that idea or that mindset in life, then you are setting yourself up to not continuing to learn. I don't think AI can replace us if you continuously learn. Honestly, really, at the end of the day, if AI, eventually reaches AGI, which is basically more intelligent than us, I don't think it changes any philosophies of life. Like from even back in the days, like the Stoics and like people from the past, the philosophers and all of that, right? It's the same. You continuously learn, you continuously find new interests, and you always find new directions into things. If you're always on that side of life, I don't think AI can replace you. If anything, AI will just make your life more meaningful and exciting. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I think it just sort of boosts it boosts the potential we have as humans to like basically get to the point that we could only dream of from like, I don't know, sci-fi movies and so on. Like decade from now, it wouldn't surprise me that there are more robots like than
Going to
humans.
buy apples, going to the grocery.
Yeah, even if you order food, you just see all these robots just running back and forth. And I mean, then we need to figure out like, how do we design cities? Do we need like sidewalks under the sidewalk so they can walk down there so we don't bump into them all the time? I don't know how we're gonna design it, but in any case, we would have robots to design the physical environment as well.
I think there's still some challenges we need to probably think about, like in the future of mankind and humanity. If robots are to replace a lot of this, what happens to a lot of people? Because the truth is, a huge population of people aren't really enticed or interested in doing things that requires quote unquote intelligence, or a lot of times people prefer doing things that are more low level or easy or doesn't require that much thinking. So we're going to face a lot of problems with things like that in the future. What does it mean by the future of employment? What does it mean by finding life's purpose? A lot of people right now are defined by labels, right? I'm defined by how I'm an actress, I'm a designer. Like we give ourselves these labels. But if robots are to take away a lot of this, what other identities do we have? How do we then find purpose in our lives? What about the next generation? If they grew up and employment is not a thing, imagine one day where nobody grows up to go to school to get a job. Like this is no longer a thing, which I feel it's very possible in the ways we are moving towards. Then what's the future of like this life template?
Yeah, it's a really big question, and as humans have always done, I think we'll figure it out eventually. And I also don't think it's a correct premise. Just assume that we only have a purpose because we work. I don't even think it has been like that throughout human history. I think work and the fact that you need to be in like a specific position is a relatively new idea from like the industrialization and so on. I think eventually we'll figure out a purpose, and in any case, everything is like the magnitude of what's possible is also gonna be so much greater. So there'll be a big need for again figuring out like what direction we want to take the planet, and also Elon Musk wants to build a city on Mars. Like eventually we're going to expand to other planets as well. And I think there's still going to be a lot of purpose, and also a big concern is the decline in population, especially in Western countries. Like the birth rates are declining rapidly, and I that's just one theory I heard from others as well, and I think it actually makes sense for me as well, that if we have like a world where all these sort of practical concerns are eliminated, if we have robots that can do things like they can take care of all the annoying tasks and make sure everything is working smoothly within the home as well, then why wouldn't people have more kids? I think it could help on the declining population growth, because things just become so much easier. So it enables us to do things that we might have down prioritized, because everything today is a struggle of like daily work and clients and deadlines and everything. But if we eliminate that and actually, okay, now we can just focus on the things that really matter, then maybe we'll figure out other things that actually are important to our lives.
Yeah.
Everything is a prioritization, right? Essentially, we have 24 hours in a day. We need to prioritize, okay, what do we want to do? But if I had unlimited hours in a day, I could think of a lot of things I want to achieve and do as well.
Yeah. Hey, all right. That was a lot of exploration on the possibilities and challenges. Now, shall we maybe bring this back to a more practical note? Perhaps we can explore some ways in which, if somebody who's really interested in getting into this space to start using AI and AI agents in helping their workflows, what are some ways they can get started?
Yeah, so I think a lot of tools are actually starting to emerge. Like some of them have probably been around for a while, but it's really now you're starting to see the value because the underlying models are also getting so much more advanced. For a while, I've been using Cursor, which is basically a version of Visual Studio Code where all the AI tools are integrated. But it's actually not that agentic. Don't get me wrong, it's an amazing tool if you're already building something and you want code to just be generated component by component. But I'm starting to increasingly use like these newer tools like Bolt.new, actually, Bolt.new and Replit, Replit.com, because they are essentially agentic AIs where you just provide them with some context, like a brief of what you actually need to build, and they will start building everything for you, including both the backend and the front end and all the connections to different APIs and so on. So it's actually more like the true vision of an AI agent that's unfolding with these tools. So you can essentially have them do anything, work with any tech stack you want. There are no limitations in that regard. So far, I would say my experience is really positive. Of course, there are bugs. Of course, it's not always perfect. But if this is the level we're at now, so early on, I can only imagine how these tools will be like 1-2 years from now. It's going to be so like incredible and essentially enable anyone to build anything in a matter of like 10 minutes. So I really can't wait to see like how this is going to scale and how this is going to empower so many people. I can just quickly show how they look. And as you see, like the interface is really, really simple. It's basically, what do you want to build? And yeah, how can Bolt help you today? You just essentially write a description of what it is you want built. I don't think it could be any simpler. You can even request to have it built with these different tech stacks, Astro or Next.js or whatever, React. So that's Bolt, and Replit works in the same way. And just for reference, the way it works is that you put in some credits into these platforms, and when they start working on your project, it will deduct credits. So I think normally when I use these tools, the cost is around $2 per hour. So, and I would say the quality is really high. So you can probably quickly see also looking like referencing to our discussion before in terms of labor and stuff, like if this is already $2 per hour and the output is really good, I mean, I don't know. It
Wow.
can just, it just creates some perspectives at least. So this is Bold. Okay, so the second tool is Replit, and you can see it here on my screen share as well. And as you see, the interface is very similar to Bolt. It's basically just a big prompt like, what do you want to build today? And and that's it. I don't know, Yeeling, should we just try to go ahead and
Yeah.
give an example, just see how it works, and just spoiler that we have not prepared this before, and so we have no clue how it's going to turn out. So let's just see. Do you have any ideas of what we could ask it to build?
Well, okay, I got one. Outside of work, I'm always trying to sell my stuff that's lying around my apartment. So maybe we could try to just build me a shop that allows me to sell my secondhand clothes or something.
That's a good idea. So I guess we would describe it that, okay, so Yeeling has a lot of clothes lying around that she is not using anymore. Please design and implement a web shop that allows her to sell these items. Do you have any like preferences in terms of looks, how the brand should be for your shop?
Well, probably people that would be around my demographics, my persona. So I guess something that appeals to, oh, that would give my age away. Appeal to young modern crowd.
Should appeal to a young modern crowd. Any sort of UI, any sort of UI template you're inspired by?
Well, I think the shopping experience should be really good. So maybe if we could ask it to focus a bit more on UX and ensuring that the whole experience to checking out is great.
Okay.
I think it should also
Wait, which colors do you like?
something dark but cool. So maybe dark tone, but some hint of,
Red?
yeah, let's just try something.
Maybe purple?
Yeah, okay, sure.
Just to make sure it doesn't just use like RGB colors.
Okay. And maybe just for variety, could we put in that there should be a review section to review me as a seller? Because I mean, they can't review my clothes, right? It's all secondhand stuff. So they gotta review how great I am as a seller.
And we can ask it to use placeholder stock photos. For now, we provide actual images later. And we can even tell it to prepare for Stripe integration for payments, but we don't have an, let's say, API key yet, so just implement basics. Okay, I think that's it. Do you have any other requirements you want to add? And also, just a short note, like you can attach files as well. So if you have started somewhere else, like maybe you even programmed a part of a project already, or you have like screenshots of inspiration, whatever, you can attach all that and it will use it in the process as well.
Do you think they can create a logo for me? Just call it Yeeling's Secondhand Store. Yeeling's pre-loved item.
Yeeling's free. Is that how you do?
Yes.
Should we like this? It's pretty sure. Should there be like a since 2025 subtitle?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Any other requirement?
I think we're good. I'm excited to see the output.
Bit for tech stack, tailwind. Is there sporadic?
I think our viewers can learn a little on how to actually prompt from this.
I mean, this is by no way perfect, but you can also always press improve prompt and then it'll actually improve your own prompt. Okay, should we just press start building and see? Okay, so as you see, there's a reply now from the agent that it understood our problem, our task, and it will help create Yeeling's pre-loved items. So it even has a plan, like it will build the initial prototype. It even also has like other additional features we can tick off, like Stripe payment integration, admin dashboard for inventory management, user accounts, and order history, wish list functionality. I think as this is really unprepared, we probably just want to go with the basics just to not risk too much. Should we just go ahead?
Yeah. Was excited.
We approve the plan and start. Okay, so now it's thinking and actually it starts to build the initial prototype. At any given time, you can keep track of the budget by hovering over here. It's not updated right now because it's just getting started, but at some point it will show and you can see now it's starting to code basically the backend. Now it created a database already, so now it's coding the backend. And now client side.
Damn.
Or it's even creating the logo now as an SVG. And as you can see, it says the agent is working. That's good because then we can go, I don't know, get coffee or something, down, watch TV, come back later. So it's doing a product representation of like the specific products. And now it's installing dependencies, like installing different libraries needed to run Yeah.
So they are creating all the different files on its own, whatever is required.
Yeah.
Wow.
And now installing the Stripe API so it can interface with Stripe. And it has a lot of integration, so you can make it connect to anything, like from Zapier, for instance, like you can ask it to integrate with different platforms as well. You would probably even ask it to create an integration so that every time you have a new customer, it will send a Slack message or something to you saying like, hey, you need to go pack this item and ship it to this address. So it even thinks while doing so. Now it thinks like, okay, I noticed that while we have created the database and schema, we don't have any sample data for products. Let's add some test data to make the application functional. So that's actually some like reflection it does on its own, like, okay, this is the context I have now, so let me just create something. And I say we have like the very first draft, like this is just a screenshot, because then it takes a screenshot and it reviews the visuals to also improve on its output based on what it sees as well. So this is the very first version of Yeeling's pre-loved items. So yeah, it's very simple, of course, but we have the dark theme, we have the purple. We can view details, I think, of a product. Oh, it even has like smooth loading. That's really nice. You are apparently selling a vintage denim jacket. I don't know if you actually have that, but it's a good condition. So let's add it to the cart. And it even has like I see it actually used a lot of the Tailwind CSS, and I think even Jetsi.
Sorry, was that something you asked it to use, or is it by default?
I specifically asked it to use Tailwind. So yeah, we've added to the cart, and then let's see our cart. Okay, it's empty. Let's try again. So it's empty. So that's a bug we can later on ask it to fix. So basically, when we add to cart, it doesn't update. But it might also be that it's because it's waiting with this whole Stripe integration until we're ready to provide it with the API key. But essentially, if we notice something like this, we just give instructions like the agent is already asking, like, is the website running and showing the sample products on the homepage? If everything looks good, I can start working on a new feature, like we wish list or size recommendation. But actually, what we will say is that, okay, the website works well. However, products are not added to the cart after pressing the add to cart. Okay, please also improve the logo to make it stand out more, and perhaps use some serif fonts instead, something like that. Okay, let's try. So while it's working on these new features and bug fixes, we can just quickly check the usage. And if we hover here, we can see that so far on this website, we've spent 25 cents for the agent to do all these tasks. We have a complete, almost functioning website for 25 cents. Yeah, so, and now we can see it's basically working on the improvements of that we just gave instructions to. Okay, so it seems that the new version is ready. I already see some bugs, but that's fine. I don't know why it repeats it, but it has at least the logo with the serif font since 2025. Let's see if we can actually buy something now. Let's go here. Add to cart. Still empty. Yeah. Okay. So I think essentially when I press checkout, it says Stripe integration coming soon. So I think it's because it's not integrated with Stripe yet. Once you're happy with the end result and you're ready to launch, you can actually deploy it directly from the platform as well. Of course, you can always download the code and deploy it yourself, but in this case, you can literally go from like idea to launched prototype in say 10 minutes or something. So it's really quite powerful in my opinion. Maybe what we should do is to create like a full session one day where we build an entire project from scratch and then see how it works. Okay, so I think that's it. Thank you everyone for watching. But this was just a quick introduction to AI agents. I think it's like some even have declared 2025 as the year of the AI agents. So since it's gonna be such a big topic, I'm pretty sure that we will have multiple episodes and talks surrounding AI agents as a whole. And please subscribe as well. That would help the channel a lot, and also push the the bell notification button so you'll receive a notification whenever we have a new episode.
Most importantly, don't forget to click on the House website below in the description box and join our exclusive waitlist. We're building something very exciting for you guys. So stay tuned and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.